Well, from weather trends to economic hurdles, a number of factors influencing moves in the farmland market today. Luke Worrell with the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers joins us now for a closer look. Luke, welcome back to the program. Always great to have you. Let's talk about some of these mid-season trends. What are you seeing in the Illinois real estate market?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me, Suzanne. Always a pleasure to be here. So, yeah, I guess I could say the same thing every year, but it's an interesting time in agricultural real estate here in Illinois, and specifically here in the middle of 2026. We actually have seen a very active May, June, and what appears to be July, which isn't necessarily always the case. Historically, those are kind of some of the more quieter periods of time. But we're seeing a lot of farms on the market. And I think that probably lends itself to thinking we might have an active quote unquote sales season, after October, where we usually see more farms hit the market.
Why do you think we're seeing that, putting these farmland up for sale?
Yeah, great question. I think, first and foremost, unfortunately, the main reason farms always hit the market is because the settling of an estate, or someone passing. So that's always going to kind of give you a baseline, so to say. I also think too that there's just enough uneasiness in the market and in the world today that if people have an asset like farmland, I think there's just enough noise out there that's kind of nudging them on one side of the fence, if that makes sense. I mean, we saw historic highs 2021, 2022, 2023, and we've kind of slowly been tapering off that, at least here in Illinois, since. And so historically, prices are still high. And there are some strong values still out there in the countryside. And so I think people are thinking, you know what? I've held on to this point, but now's the time with all the other stuff going on.
Let's talk about the other side of that. As far as buyers, Luke, who's looking to invest in farmland? Is it producers? Are they looking to keep this farmland in production?
Yeah, by and large, and again, I think I even said it last time I was on the program. Some of the larger, more publicly known buyers get the headlines, but in the Illinois Society, when we do our mid-year reports and we do our annual reports, a vast majority of the buyers are, owner operators, or what we kind of lovingly call local money, local investors. And so, they're still driving the market. Now, I think one thing to keep an eye on, and I'm sure other parts of your program touch on this on the regular, is there's a little bit of a tighter ag economic hurdle in front of farmers right now, and so it remains to be seen on what will that do to land values as time rolls along.
Absolutely. Of course, I was going to ask you that as you look through the rest of this year. Unfortunately, though, a lot of uncertainty. I know a lot of times you guys go, I don't have a crystal ball, but what are you thinking you're going to see as this year kind of comes to a close?
Yeah, I wish I had the crystal ball. It'd make life a lot easier.
Exactly.
I think one thing is for certain, is we are going to see very sporadic results. I think, even here in my home county in the last 10 days, we had two different auctions, two different companies, very similar farms, and there was nearly a $7,000 per acre difference at a public auction. So I think you're going to see wide varying. I think, the old adage, location is going to be more important than ever. I don't expect a large decrease in values. If I had to guess, I think overall we'll continue to see a slightly reduced average across the whole state of Illinois, but you're certainly still going to have those sales that kind of makes you scratch your head and wonder, like, man, that really went for that much. I think you're still going to see those.
Yeah, good to hear that land is holding its value. That's for sure. Luke, thank you. Always a pleasure to have you. Broker, accredited farm manager. That is Luke Worrell. Always great to have him.